Greetings, Twitter. How are you all doing today? I had been wanting to go live today to talk further about what's been going on. Been literally in and out of my house today, my studio here, taking care of other things, but I didn't want the day to go by without recapping and talking about what's been going on. As you know, I came on live previously talking about what was going on with the lawsuit Cox versus Texas, the emergency abortion lawsuit. And things kind of moved pretty rapidly yesterday. And I think the last thing that I mentioned was that Paxton had filed a emergency appeal at the Supreme Court. And I did get a chance to read the appeal and the response. And while I was doing that last night, the Texas Supreme Court decided to put a pause on the temporary restraining order, and I wasn't too happy about that. One, because I think that in the case of this lady, this pregnant woman, Kate Cox, I don't necessarily believe that we should put her health at risk. Going on, I think that the the Texas Supreme Court should have handled it a little bit differently. I know that they're wanting more time, and I can understand they need more time to discuss the merits of it. But I think that it should have been accelerated a little bit more. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they are hearing it today. I don't know. Or maybe they're reviewing it today. I would hope they would and come back with a much more appropriate ruling or order in that case. But I mean, I don't think that the Texas Supreme Court is really doing anything right now on the weekend. But I would be surprised if they were hearing it. But I did review. I did get a chance to review it, and basically, in a nutshell, it appears that Paxton's disputing that this pregnant woman has to be within imminent death to be able to qualify for the medical exception, which I find crazy. I mean, I find crazy, but the law is the law. And that's the reason why this lawsuit was filed, and the lawsuit with Zarowski versus Texas was filed to make that clarification. And unfortunately, the entities or agencies that should have made the clarification have remained silent up until this moment, probably, and in all honesty, because they don't have the testicles or the balls to come forward and make the clarification. That's what it is in a nutshell. They've been silent. They've been cowards, in all honesty, and not wanting to respond. Neither Paxton nor the president of the TMB, the Texas Medical Board, had the manhood to man up and speak publicly before the press. Unfortunately, and I mean, they should be very well ashamed, because our state officials should at least have the fortitude to stand in front of a frickin' camera and address the public on this issue, and they have not. They hide behind their offices, they hide behind their letters, they hide behind their frickin' paperwork. They're not man enough to get in front of a camera and say, okay, this is what's going on. We as Texans should be disgusted at our government agencies in that respect. Paxton, Abbott, the Texas Medical Board, the TEA. There's been a number of issues statewide and with respect to these agencies in the past, and they've remained silent at all times. Why? For that reason, because they can't man up and get in front of a dang camera. I mean, I challenge them to grow a set and get in front of a camera and confront the public. I think Texans would want that. But I'm not going to vent my frustration on that right now. Suffice it to say that the Supreme Court did put a pause on this, and it has created a major backlash in the social media, and I think across the state. Women are incensed that their rights are being violated. And I believe, and I posted this earlier today, and I think 3 occasions, I believe that, as the saying says, hell hath no fury that like a woman scorned. That eventually all Texas women, maybe even doctors, maybe even their husbands, eventually they will not forgive, and they will most definitely not forget. And come election time, when they go to the polls, I got a feeling we're going to see the end result. And I would not be surprised if Texas flipped blue simply because of the events that happened in Texas this week. Because, it is clear now, we have seen the very true colors of the Republican Party. This is the Republican Party, the Republican officials that you're seeing acting this way. Paxton, the Texas Medical Board, the governor of Texas, all these. This is the same Republican Party that is backing Donald Trump for president. Is this the party that we want in force? Think about it. This party, and I was thinking about this today, and that is that this party is all about control. I read it on social media, and the more I thought about it, the more I came to the realization that is the case. They are trying to control medical rights. They successfully fought against vaccines. That's medical, saying that the government can't force vaccines on us. They have fought hellbent against masks in the past during the pandemic. Another medical what's the word I'm looking for? And I can't think of it off the top of my head. Mitigation strategy. They have fought tooth and nail to control certain, even medical treatments for transgenders, but it's an example as well. They fought tooth and nail to control all these medical issues. They've tried to control opioids. They've tried to control certain other medical issues, and it's more about controlling all this medical situation to prevent Americans from having certain medical methods, treatments, and medications and whatnot. Do we want that of an extreme authoritarian control over our state, over our country? I think that's what we need to start thinking about. I've said in the past that it's time that we, as citizens, not only of the state of Texas, but of the citizens of this great country, that we step back and we think and we see what is exactly going on. And I think with what has happened over the last 48 hours, I think this has begun to awaken a huge amount of the population, not only here in Texas but nationwide, with respect to what these abortion laws mean. I don't think people, when these laws were originally passed, were aware of exactly what the situation was that was going to occur. And now that it is actually occurring, it is opening eyes like never before. The backlash, the comments that I have seen all day long since yesterday with respect to this issue of abortion and these medically necessary abortion treatments is incredible. There are people pissed off, celebrities pissed off, elected officials in other states. For the governor of California he posted that he was more than willing to welcome Miss Cox to California to have a procedure. That it's unfair that she has to suffer all this what's going on here in the state of Texas. I mean, the governor of California, for crying out loud. I mean, and I know a lot of you conservatives are like, well, he's a Democrat, he's a liberal. But right now, this issue here is not political. I mean, it is, but it's not political because we're talking about the rights of an individual here, a pregnant woman. And talking about rights, it got me thinking as well that I think because of the narrowness of these laws and the fact that the Attorney General is fighting tooth and nail, for this, that there has to be in this scenario, there has to be most definitely an argument that the state of Texas and Attorney General Ken Paxton are violating the constitutional rights of this lady, Miss Kate Cox, and I think I would want to believe that there exists a solid argument that would allow Ms. Cox to, if in the event this doesn't work out at the state Supreme Court, that she can file a federal lawsuit, arguing that her constitutional rights for medical treatments have been basically they've been infringed upon by the state of Texas. The Constitution affords us the right to be secure in ourselves. As individuals, and part of being secured, I would think, is being able to know that you can obtain the necessary medical treatment that you need for whatever your situation is. And in this case, because Ms. Cox is carrying what has been classified medically as a non-viable pregnancy, she should be entitled to whatever the treatment is that she needs to get over this. In this case, it's an abortion to remove this non-viable fetus so that later on she can try to have another child, which is what she wants to do. Okay, she can't do that if she's jeopardizing her health. So I think to a certain extent, her rights medically have, on a federal level, have been violated by the state of Texas, and I think, because the way this case is running, it is solidifying that federal case later on. I want to believe that's the case. But right now, in the meantime, we have to wait to see what the Supreme Court is going to do. I have said yesterday, and I still continue to believe at this point, that Paxton is guilty of circumventing the judicial system in Texas, and with regards to the Cox case, he has circumvented the judicial system. The timeline and the chronology proves it beyond all doubt to me. Let me recap what I mean when I say the chronology. If we go back, and most of you all are probably aware right now of all of it, what I'm about to say, and that is that the TRO was the temporary restraining order that was issued yesterday morning or day before yesterday morning by a district court judge. There was an emergency hearing. She issued a TRO. Hours after she issued that TRO, because the news about the TRO came out like in the middle of the day. I want to say that I got a hold of it myself to read about it probably around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, more or less. It could have been a little bit later. And then I want to say 2 to 3 hours after that, Ken Paxton posted the letter that he sent to the hospitals. So it tells me that letter was sent within that time frame from the moment that the TRO was issued, or after the TRO was issued, and before he posted it to social media. So it tells me that letter came after the TRO. Now, a couple hours after that, probably about an hour or so after that, I want to believe that somehow, not somehow, but because I read it in the, now that I think about it, I read it in the respondent, the real party appeal, in this case, Molly Dwayne, and the lawyer for Kate Cox. She said in her appeal that Paxton sent a copy of that letter so that, in quote, y'all can have it. He sent it to them. Now, when he sent it, I don't know, but suffice it to say, after they received that letter, or they were made aware of that letter, they sent another letter to Judge Gamble, basically saying, look, Ken Paxton did this. I believe and that he is disregarding he is basically disregarding and I think violating the TRO by sending that letter. And then they request and demand that Paxton be brought in front of the judge to explain himself why he shouldn't be sanctioned or held in contempt for his actions. That's where I got led to believe that, okay, he did circumvent, or he did violate the TRO. That was late yesterday evening, and it was not, well, that was early yesterday evening. Then word came out shortly thereafter that Paxton filed an appeal at the Supreme Court. I don't know what the time frame was, but it had to have been around the time, I think, that the attorney for Kate Cox filed the letter with the judge. And I think Paxton was aware of it, or he found out about it, or they told him about it. I don't know. But the thing was, he had to have been aware, because after that, he filed the appeal to the Texas Supreme Court, and he filed it in the middle of the night. And I asked myself, why would Paxton file an appeal at near midnight? It was 11:40, according to the stamp on the document. It was 11:45 p.m. when he filed the appeal. Why would you file an appeal so late at night when you could file it first thing the next morning? My guess and my assumption is that he filed it so late at night because he knew that he was going to have to confront Judge Gamble eventually, and he needed some form of protection. And the only way to do it was to circumvent the district court by filing the appeal at the Supreme Court. Because he thought he would have more favor in the Supreme Court. And to his benefit, the Supreme Court said, okay, we're going to pause the restraining order until we can hear the merits of the case. They paused it without having to do anything with the merits, which means that the decision does not affect the outcome of the case in the manner that they have to hear it, they have to review it, and then make their decision accordingly.